the more important thing, I think, is to notice and take account of the fact that there is a longer term demand growth and supply squeeze for tin. And so I can't see that. It may drop down to something like 30 or 40, but I can't see it really dropping any further than that. The longer term demand is there, and there is a supply gap.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Rome Resources CEO Paul Barrett. Paul, very good to speak with you. You're hitting multi-meter intervals grading above 3% and even 7.5% tin. How significant is that beneath the maiden resource?
Hi, Stephen. Yes, good to see you. Very significant, really. I think if you put into the context the fact that all the previous drilling that we've had on Kalai, there are only two intercepts of greater than 2 meters with 2% or more tin. But actually, in these past 7 holes, we've had 5 holes which have had those. So we are increasing the hit rate, as it were, and we're certainly increasing the widths of the intercept as we go. It's not an empirical kind of relationship between depth and width of the intercepts. It is a general, they come and go, but in general terms, we are seeing a lot more. Clearly, we're seeing greater widths and with really good cassiterite numbers within them.
I mean, we've talked about this before. Kalai sits just 8 kilometers from Alphamin's Mpama mine. How close do you think the geological comparison really is?
It's very similar. I mean, I was looking actually at one of the academic papers that had been put out by some of the workers who'd worked on the Alphamin deposit, and it is very, very similar in terms of the style of the cassiterite, the style of the veins. We see the main vein in Mpama North, anything between 2 and 20 meters wide, with about 3.5% tin. So we're seeing very similar kind of numbers in these latest Kalai holes.
Paul, these are XRF results for now. What should investors watch for when the full lab assays come in?
That's true. It's very important to point that out. We are looking at XRFs. Now, historically, they've been within 10, 15%, that kind of range of the true value. I mean, they are an average over a meter, which only averages one side of the core as you go down it. So that they are not 100% accurate, but they do give you a really good indication. So even if we're 10 or 15% off, we're still looking at some very good numbers.
And Paul, with tin around current levels, how does today's price environment shape your strategy and potential development plans?
Well, I don't think it has an immediate effect. I think the business model here for Kalai, being pure tin, is to end up going through the Alphamin facility at Bizia. So, that will probably happen within a few years' time. We don't know what the price is going to be now. The more important thing, I think, is to notice and take account of the fact that there is a longer term demand growth and supply squeeze for tin. And so I can't see that. It may drop down to something like 30 or 40, but I can't see it really dropping any further than that. The longer term demand is there, and there is a supply gap out in the next few years. So I don't think immediately it affects our decision making, but it certainly looks good.
Well, you've just come back from mining in Indaba in Cape Town, Paul, and particularly with metals at current prices. How was the Indaba? What was the buzz?
Yes, it was very optimistic. Understandably, I guess you'd think. Certainly in the critical minerals and also in the precious metals sectors. So those two things were really buoyant. I think what's also interesting from our point of view is also that not just the investment in critical minerals, but the geography of that. So the DRC is now starting to look like a much more interesting place for people to put money. A couple of deals recently gone down in DRC, large deals, and I think a whole swath of smaller deals will come along on the back of the US supporting DRC mining. So that's a very interesting thing for us, of course, because DRC has its challenges. But as this process continues, we should see a lot more activity and therefore a lot more business confidence in the DRC itself.
Well, I hope you'll continue to keep us updated with your progress. Thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thanks, Stephen.
Paul Barrett, the CEO of Rome Resources.